this is Brian with ActiveMelody.com. Well, last week's MicroLesson was so popular that I decided to extend it this week, and we're taking a look at two simple chords, a 1 and a 4 chord, and in this case a G and a C chord, and what can we do to take two chords and make them sound a little more interesting. A lot of times you'll find yourself in a group jam, group setting, where there's a lot of musicians, a lot of guitar players, and everybody's just strumming the same chords. You don't want to be that person. You want to think outside the box. What can you do to play those, to complement that and play those chords in different positions? And so that's what last week's lesson was. This week we're going to look at how we can play some fill licks to get us between those two chords. So this would be great if you're doing singer-songwriter stuff where you're singing, playing chords, and then you need a little fill lick to get you from one chord to the next, just to spice it up a little. So, if you want to download the tablature for this week's lesson, you can go to activemelody.com/micro and do a search for ML044. Last week's lesson, by the way, was ML043. So make sure you watch the two lessons together and you'll have a lot of new ideas for how you can play two simple chords. Alright, so the first thing that I played was this little bluegrassy lick that I'm playing over a G chord. It sounds like this. It's easy to play because there's a lot of open strings, and it's a very useful lick. You can use this in just about anything if you slow it down or speed it up. But let's talk about counting it in. So it comes in on the 2. So if we were counting it, we'd say 1, 2. So that first note is right on the 2. 1, 2. And I'm starting by strumming the G chord down, down, up. So this is the first little thing, just to establish it. Okay, now this lick is really the major pentatonic scale, with the exception of this one note here, which would be in the minor pentatonic scale. Everything else is major. That's why it sounds so happy and positive. And let's start with this open D string. So we're going to play a downstroke there and do a hammer-on. I use my middle finger for that. That's on the 2nd fret, 4th string. And then I do an upstroke on the 3rd string, or the G string. Alright, so even if you learn nothing else in this lesson, this is a great little fill lick. So check this out. So I'm just going between the C and the G chord using that same lick. So anyway, let's get back to it. So we have, and then I come up to the 3rd fret, 3rd string, and do a slide down. Now I'm not going to go over all the strum patterns with this, but it is in the tablature. So if you need to know what the right hand is doing, you can download the tab and it's all notated there. So we have, there's a slide, and then I played the open 3rd string, back to the 2nd fret 4th string, and then the open D string. So all together now we have, and now we're going back to the 3rd string, the open G string, and then we're going to do that same little hammer-on that we just learned at the beginning of this. And that's how we conclude that lick. So it's open 3rd string, 4th string with a hammer-on the 2nd fret, back to the open 3rd string. And that's the lick. So all together it's... Now notice there's a little bit of a swagger to it when I'm playing it. Or a shuffle. Alright, so from the beginning of that G chord, then we go to the C chord. What's nice about that, you have that open string, so you can take your hand off the fretboard, reposition it over the C chord. And then I'm going to play this sus chord. Now this is going to be similar to what we learned last week. We learned a sus over the G chord in this position, but we're going to do something similar, but this time over the C chord, where we play the sus4. So here's how I played the C chord. I played the 5th string, and then down, up. So that's how we started it. And then that's playing the 4th string, keeping the C chord shape here, but using my pinky to do a hammer-on to the 3rd fret, 4th string. And then 3rd string, 2nd string. And then we go back to the 4th string and do a pull-off with the pinky. So all together it goes. And then you hit that 5th string one more time. Pretty easy to do. You can see you're just tracing the chord there. That's another great takeaway. Just walk away, with these two little licks, if nothing else. That's a great way to strum around a C chord. And then to end that lick I went, which takes me back to the G chord, and that is what we started with. That's that same little hammer-on lick. So that's the open 4th string, hammer-on in the 2nd fret, 4th string, and then the 3rd string, opened. So it's, and then I played the open D string, which allows me to take my hand off and go back into position for the G chord. And you can just keep looping these. And it's just a lot of fun to do. It's actually very intoxicating once you get the rhythm going. So practice the rhythm, make sure you download the tab and take a look at the strum patterns if you need them. And that's what we have for this week. I'll see you next week for another micro lesson.